Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. I don't know if you can see it here, but I don't know how well you can see it. There's some little dogwoods starting to bloom. There's a couple small ones right here next to me. Anyways, I always like them. I don't know. It's just another sign that, you know, it's spring and life is starting to grow again. So, beautiful day here, quite windy. Which is, again, why I'm inside a vehicle, because it's just too windy to do stuff outside when it comes to wind noise. I also just posted a video over on Locals on my Prepper Medical Responder series, talking about drug overdoses, how to handle that as a kind of a medical prepper responder. And also, I leave a link over there that some of you may qualify for some free preps. You got to watch the video, and there's a link there that you can go and see if you can, depending on where you live, if you can qualify. So if you go over and join up on Locals, maybe it might work out for you. I don't know. It just depends. Depends on where you live. Anyways, and if you're already signed up, go watch the video. You might learn something. So this tariff trade war stuff is getting bigger, okay? And while trade wars don't always end up historically, don't always end up in an actual real war, they sometimes do. In fact, which has so much similarities. Do some history on I believe it's the Smoot-Hawley Act. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but the Smoot-Hawley Act of 1930, which was the tariffs that the government imposed at the start of the Depression, right? Stock market crashes, depression starts happening, and so they throw some tariffs out there, which was the last time this country put big tariffs on stuff, on imports, to try to bring America out of the Depression, and it actually made things substantially worse. But part of that, now it wasn't all, so don't jump the gun just yet, but part of what that did is it did cause some trade wars. And if you chart it out, it did lead in many ways to especially what happened between us and Japan during World War II. It wasn't, of course, the only thing, mind you, but it did play a major contributing part to that. Fast forward to now, and we're in a very similar situation. You know, the economy is not in a depression, it's in a recession. You can argue with me all day long about that, but we've been in an easy recession for a few years, bordering maybe even into depression, but certainly recession. You know, high prices, people just struggling, not being able to make it. And, you know, also our system kind of morality is all broken up. If you looked into the 20s, into the, you know, from the 20s into the early 30s, America was also dealing with this struggle of finding its soul, so to speak. You know, the roaring 20s brought in all kinds of immorality into this country, made it popularized, which was different from what it had been. So there's so many similarities to that, and of course things of rise of socialism, Nazism, communism, all that kind of stuff. But anyways, now we're today in another trade war with these tariffs, and we're watching things heat up. You know, the last week or two there was this kind of tit for tat between the United States and Canada, and the United States and Mexico, and the United States and especially China, where Trump would raise the tariff and they would raise, and then he would back off, and then it just back and forth. But now we're starting to actually see the real trade war stuff kick in. If you pay attention to the news, you know, the news reports that the United States is trying to negotiate some kind of trade deal with the European Union, which they're saying is not going very well. At the same time, China is trying to negotiate. And the United States admitted that they're trying to convince these countries to either do business with us or to do business with China, kind of this ultimatum that you either work with us or them, but not both. Same thing with other countries, that China's trying to step in with India, for example, and try to work out some kind of trade deal with India. If China could work out a good, solid trade deal with India, they may not actually need the United States that much when it comes to trade. And I know a lot of people are going to argue, but India's population is exploding. okay? And while there's still some third world areas, most certainly, and even in the first world areas, a lot of India is third world. Some of you know what I mean by that. But it is a booming country. And if they can work out some good solid trade deals with India, they may not even need the United States. They only about 15% of China's exports come to the United States anyways. So the war is really beginning when it comes to that. Along with that, there's, like I said, the possibility that this trade war could end up into an actual conventional war. But we already knew that even before the trade war started, because there's already been talk that China could possibly try to attack Taiwan, or we would be at war with China, at least by 2027. And now they're saying even sooner. And this is from the Pentagon. This is from U.S. military officials, that over the next year to 2 years. And in fact, right now they're saying there's a 1 in 5 chance, which is quite a bit higher than it's been, that China could attack Taiwan in the next 6 months, a 20% chance. So we're already dealing with a tense situation when it comes to the militarily. Now trade wars being brought in on it. Same thing with Russia. The whole Russia-Ukraine deal obviously is not going as planned. Through the campaign many times, Trump stated that he would end the war within the first 24 hours of being in office. Well, obviously that didn't happen. And then we heard by the 1st of April. And now we're hearing maybe by the 1st of May. But in fact, there's not been hardly any headway at all. There's hardly been any movement towards kind of really slowing this thing down. In fact, all of the agreements that's happened so far have all been broken. And so now the United States, Donald Trump is stating that if Russia does not kind of come to the table and start fixing, and agreeing to things, that we will put more sanctions on them. Just in the last few days, Ukraine has requested or made an offer to purchase $50 billion in weapons from the United States. I'm sure that $50 billion came from us to begin with. But at least on paper, it would look like that the United States sold $50 billion, had an income of $50 billion. Donald Trump is saying no right now. I suspect that at some point we will change that. It may not be the full offer, the full deal, but I suspect at some point he's going to do that. He's going to use that as leverage against Russia. Hey, you come to the table on this peace deal, and, we may not sell all these weapons to Ukraine. The point is that all of this trade and all of this conflict and everything is actually drawing the United States really closer and closer into a major war. I understand that some people believe that the plan is going along as it's meant to, so that it avoids all of this. But I don't think that that's the case. There's also Iran. There's a lot of mixed information coming out depending on what news source you read. Some people are saying the talks so far have gone great, and other people are saying that they're not really making any headway whatsoever. The point is we're adding this trade, this tariffs into it, and it's only exacerbating the situation, and it's only drawing us closer and closer into a war. And will the tariffs actually succeed in what we hoped? I don't know. They're saying, I think 15, 16 countries are in some kind of negotiations right now with the United States because of the tariffs. Unfortunately, most of those countries that we're in negotiations with for some kind of trade deal are very minor countries when it comes to any kind of trade with the United States. So I don't know how effective that will be. But that's what they're saying happened. There's the heat between the United States and China, at least on the surface, what it appears, looks pretty significant, and it's getting worse. We will see. But I think the point is that we need to start preparing ourselves. With Europe, that's been our closest ally forever. And now it's starting to look like that they're not so much of an ally anymore, and a lot of it's because of this trade stuff. The tariffs on European goods. They're saying it's going to stick for a while, maybe for a long while. You should probably be preparing for that. You know, your cheese, your wine, your olive oil, things like that. A lot of that comes from Europe, but other things do too. A lot of machine parts come from Europe. You know, they come from Germany. A lot of things. Same thing with China. You should probably be preparing for that. Donald Trump announced, has been talking the last few days about pharmaceutical tariffs. No word yet on what the amount would be, but he's saying that we'll put some tariffs on pharmaceuticals. 85 to 90% of the pharmaceuticals that exist in this country are made outside of this country. The vast majority are in China, India also, and then some in Europe. But hardly any medication is made in this country. So if you're on medication, you should probably start stocking up. Over-the-counter stuff, stock up. If it's prescription medication that you take regularly, ask your doctor if he could write you an extra prescription here and there. Have a little stockpile. You should do that as a prepper anyways. But with this increase, it's going to cause costs to go up. These things are draining the American people because we're still paying all the other taxes. I mean, you know, the president said, I think yesterday, that it's possible that if we get enough income from the tariffs, we might be able to do away with the IRS, or the income tax. Well, I thought that was what we were trying to do anyways, but the numbers just aren't there. The numbers really aren't there to do away with the current income from the income tax. And the thing is if the point of the tariffs is to drive these companies back to the United States, then the amount of tariffs taken in will start lowering. So it's unlikely that the tariffs will actually take the place of the income tax. But we're paying both, right? I mean, today is the day that you have to file your taxes, right? So you're paying both now. You're paying the tariffs and the taxes, which it's all taxes. And so you should probably be preparing for that. Maybe you're still hopeful that things will turn around, but at least for a while, the prices on a lot of stuff's going up. And I hear it so often from people. Well, then I'm not buying a new car. I couldn't afford a new car anyways. I'm not buying a new iPhone. I'm not buying a new TV. I don't think people understand how much stuff, not just the whole product, comes from overseas, but how much stuff that's used to make stuff, even here in the United States, even many items that are made in America, the raw components to manufacture those items come from overseas. China this past week announced that they're going to cut off the United States from a lot of rare earth minerals, very critical components that are used to make technology. Even if that technology is manufactured in the United States or even elsewhere, China is the one that has a lot of the raw materials for it. And so even if you, say, buy a car that's American made, the steel and aluminum from it most likely came from overseas. And so the price will still go up because that stuff has gone up. We have to be prepared for this. You should be stocking up. And at this point, I could say stock up on everything. But honestly, you know, pharmaceuticals is a big one. Parts to equipment that you have, car parts, tractor parts, things like that. That's all imported. Most of it's from China or Mexico. Other things that are pretty obvious. I mean, there's just I think yesterday, a trade deal that we've had with Mexico called the Tomato Act, or the Tomato Trade Deal. It's ending. We're ending it. We're no longer doing this deal. So the price of tomatoes at the grocery store should probably be going up, because a lot of tomatoes that are bought in the United States are actually grown in Mexico. So you should probably be growing your own tomatoes this year if you haven't been already. The American people, I don't think, quite fully understand how much the potential of different items going up in price, to the point that it's really struggling. And the tensions here in the United States between the people, and then the tensions between countries, United States and China and Canada and Europe and all these other things, is growing also. And so when all those things happen, they become a good recipe, lots of perfect ingredients that could potentially lead to greater conflict. And that's something we definitely need to be preparing for, because the trade wars and already the existing wars, the tensions because of it, yeah, I think the odds are becoming greater and greater that we will end up in a much bigger conflict. And it may actually be World War III that so many preppers have been talking about for so many years. So you need to get ready, get your houses in order, and prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video.